What is up, guys? Welcome to my video. I am the Fortnite guy, and Fortnite esports is my thing. If Fortnite esports is your thing, be sure to drop a like on this video and subscribe to my channel, because I am your #1 source for Fortnite esports content. And now, let's go ahead and hop into this video. So in this video, I'm going to be completely analyzing and breaking down the tournament coming up today, the Friday Fortnite tournament powered by UMG, basically brought to us by Keemstar. Without him, this wouldn't be possible, so big shout out to Keemstar. So in this video, you're going to learn who every single player is, what they do, are they a YouTuber, are they a pro player, who do they play for, are they good? Are they bad? We're going to be taking a look at their individual statistics, and then I will give my predictions on the matches. And real quick, for all of you guys who don't know how this tournament works, it's a very unique format. So for a match, there is going to be 4 players. So for the first one, it's Ninja and King Richard. They're going to team up, and then Dr. Lupo and Tim the Tatman will team up, and these 4 players will all get in the same squad. They will queue up squads, and then whoever adds the most kills up within 2 games is the winner. So it's pretty much a race to see who can get the most kills in 2 games. If it ends up being a draw after 2 games, then you will go to a 3rd game. There's no specific rules on where you can land. It's literally a free-for-all. You can go wherever you wish. Tilted, Salty Springs, wherever the player wants to go to, you can go, and you can follow the other team around. No specific rules. So that's overall how the tournament will be played. So starting off with the very first match, we have King Richard going up against Dr. Lupo and Tim the Tatman. Now, if you don't know who Ninja is, you probably don't play Fortnite. And I guess if you don't play Fortnite, Ninja is the most famous and one of the best players in all of Fortnite. Then moving on to King Richard, his partner, he is the captain of professional team Envious. If you don't know who Envious is, they're one of the most successful organizations in all of esports, winning championships in most of the games they touch. So the fact that they picked up King Richard and made him the captain means a lot. Then moving on to the next team, it's Dr. Lupo and Tim the Tatman. Dr. Lupo is a streamer. He's a community figure, I'd say, in Fortnite. Definitely not a pro player, but he is still pretty decent at the game. Then moving on to Tim Tatman, he is also a streamer, a community figure, probably not as much as Dr. Lupo, more of an entertainer. And I would say Tim the Tatman, probably on the lower level of most of the players in this tournament. So now that I've introduced them, let's go ahead and break down the statistics for each player in this matchup. So here we go. We're going to be looking at solos from season 4 only in these statistics. So Ninja so far in this season has a 43% win ratio, a KD of 12.93, and kills per match of 7.36. I think these 3 are the most important for this type of tournament. It's all about kills, and winning kind of matters too, because if you can last till the end, you'll probably have more kills than the other team. So Ninja, he's got some great stats. Moving on to King Richard, 49% win rate, KD 13.81, kills per match 6.96. So overall, him and Ninja, they have amazing stats. Looking at Dr. Lupo and Tim the Tatman, not so good, especially Tim the Tatman. He's sitting way behind at only a 2% win rate and a 2.78 KD, 2.73 kills per match, where Dr. Lupo is a little bit better, but these guys obviously can't stand to Ninja and King Richard, so I'm going to be moving Ninja and King Richard on. And then moving on to the second matchup, we have Logan Paul teamed up with Martin. Now, if you don't know who Logan Paul is, you probably don't watch YouTube. He's basically the biggest guy on the platform right now, or at least one of the biggest. He's been through a lot of controversy, but none of that really matters because we're talking Fortnite. Logan Paul, not the best Fortnite player. So let's go to move on to Martin. Now, a lot of people don't know who Martin is, but he's actually a professional player signed to Method. It's a decent organization, definitely not one of the biggest, also not one of the smallest. They have decent teams spread around multiple games. So he's teaming up with Logan Paul, and they're going to be taking on Roman Atwood and faze Geomock. Now, if you don't know who Roman Atwood is, again, you probably don't watch YouTube. He's probably one of the most famous YouTubers. He's been around forever. He creates family-friendly content, daily vlogs, stuff like that. He's not very good at Fortnite either. So him and Logan Paul on the same level. Moving on to faze Geomock. Most of you guys probably know who he is if you're watching Fortnite esports. He's a player for faze, definitely one of the best in the game. So let's go ahead and look at the statistics for this match. We have Logan Paul's stats. Yeah, I mean, I'd say he's an average player overall. Definitely not good compared to a lot of the players in this tournament, sitting at a 1.47 KD, 1.45 kills per match. Then moving on to Martin, professional player, 12% win rate, 3.16 KD, 2.7 kills per match. Not the best. He is a pro player, so judge it how you will. Moving on to Roman Atwood, he's even worse than Logan Paul, sitting at a 1 KD and sitting at 1 kill per match. Then we move on to faze Geomock. he's a little bit better than Martin at a 20% win rate, 5.21 KD, and 4.14 kills per match. I'm going to go ahead and give this matchup over here to faze JLMOC and Roman Atwood, solely based because Roman is worse than Logan Paul. Logan Paul also has more matches played than him, so he's more experienced. And then faze JLMOC, pretty much the same thing. His stats are a little bit better in every category. Plus, I think JLMOC has a lot more tournament and scrim experience than Martin does. So yeah, I'm going to give the win over to faze JLMOC and Roman Atwood. Let's go ahead and move them forward. All right, moving on to the third match now. We have DJ Academics. If you don't know who DJ Academics is, you probably don't listen to hip hop. He is a huge figure when it comes to the hip hop game. He makes YouTube content and basically just gives his opinion on drama going on in the hip hop scene, stuff like that. He's not very good at Fortnite though. Now let's move on to B-Chills. Now B-Chills is not a pro, but he is damn good at Fortnite. This guy, if you check his YouTube channel out, he solos squads all the time and he even has a 26 kill game in soloing squads. His stats are actually ridiculous too. Let's go ahead and take a look at those. So looking at B-Chill stats here, he has a 27% win rate, 9.70 KD, and 7 kills per match. Actually higher than JLMOC and Martin from the last match, who are pro players. So as I said, he might not be a pro, but he is damn good. As for DJ Academics, probably the worst player in this entire tournament, sitting at a 0.78 KD, never won a solo, 0.78 kills per match, not good at all. So B-Chills, he definitely has a huge job to carry DJ around. Moving on to the next team, we have Tory Lanez and Written by Ray. Now, if you don't know who Tory Lanez is, he's also part of the hip hop game. He is a rapper, pretty famous guy, but also not very good at Fortnite. Again, probably one of the worst players in the tournament, along with DJ Academics. Never won a game. 0.40 KD, 0.4 kills per match. The guy hardly plays, 30 matches total. Then we have Written by Ray. Now, Written by Ray is actually Tory Lanez's manager. So we have a manager and rapper playing together. Pretty cool, but they're probably one of the worst duos in this entire tournament. They're going to lose. B-Chills is absolutely going to mop the floor with them. So we're going to give the win over to B-Chills and DJ Academics. Moving on. All right, moving on to the next matchup, we have Nadeshot and a Big T, who is Big Timer. They're both part of Optic, ex-professional players. They're pretty good at Fortnite. They play a lot together ever since the game has been released. Then moving on, we have Quebblecop and Ideyoung. And hopefully I'm pronouncing these names right, but so Ideyoung is actually an aspiring pro player. He's pretty good, and Quebblecop is a YouTuber. He creates a lot of gaming content. He's actually pretty decent out of the game, probably one of the better YouTubers on here. So looking at Ideyoung's stats, as I said, aspiring pro player, 23% win rate, 6.33 kill death ratio, and 4.86 kills per match. That's pretty good, comparable to faze JLMOC and Martin. He's up there. Moving on to Nadeshot and Big Timer stats, they're also above average. They're a little above Quebblecop. One thing about these guys, like I said, is they've been playing since the beginning of the game together, so they have a lot of duo experience. That could be valued a little bit, but I'm going to go ahead and give the match over to Ideyoung and Quebblecop. I think Ideyoung will be able to pull this one together, but this is definitely one of the harder matches to predict, and I think it'll be extremely close. Moving on to the next matchup, we have ricegum and faze Space Leon going up against Chance and Josh OG. We actually have a grudge match here. Now, if you don't know who Chance is, he's part of the YouTube game. He was on Team 10 until he left recently, and he used to have a lot of beef with ricegum, who was part of Clout Gang. So if you follow YouTube drama, you know them. Grudge match here. Partners, we have Space Leon, who is a professional player for faze, really good, and then we have Josh OG for Chance. And one thing about Chance and Josh OG, they're both pretty good, especially Chance. I've watched his stream multiple times. This guy is good. There is potential for upset here, but I gotta give the match over to Space Leon just because he's a professional player. He's really good. He's got good stats. He plays for faze, all that good stuff. ricegum might hold him back a little bit, but I think he'll be able to carry his own. This could go either way again. Hard one to predict. Moving on to the next matchup, we have Summit 1G and Miniker together. Miniker is actually a model slash gamer slash entrepreneur. He does a lot of stuff, and he's actually pretty decent at Fortnite for being so damn good looking. And then his partner Summit 1G, you all know who Summit 1G is. He plays Fortnite, he plays CSGO, he plays PUBG, ex-professional player way back. He's now a variety streamer, pretty good gamer. They're actually a decent duo. Then moving on, we have Dr. Disrespect. Most of you guys probably know him. One thing about Dr. Disrespect, he absolutely hates Fortnite. He used to refuse to build. I honestly am surprised he's even playing these tournaments just because of how much he says he hates the game when he streams it. And then his partner is Crafty. And most of you guys know who Crafty is. He's a streamer for TSM. really good player, not a professional, but he's up there for sure. Now this one's a hard one to pick. I went back and forth, but I'm going to give it over to Summit 1G just because their stats are pretty good. I mean, a 4.0 KD, a 5.0 KD, I think combined these guys can get a decent amount of kills. As for Crafty, he's going to be solo carrying Dr. Disrespect. I don't think Dr. Disrespect's going to do much. I think his hatred for the game is going to hold him and Crafty back. Also, his stats just aren't that good overall. And considering Summit 1G and Miniker, it looks like they're decent fraggers and not so far behind Crafty. I think they'll be able to do this. In these tournaments, if you have a bad teammate, you can only carry them so far. So Summit 1G and Miniker are going to take this. Moving on to the next matchup now, this is probably one of the biggest of the first round. We have Nick Mercs and Cypher PK going up against TSM Daquan and TWG Yanni. Now, Nick Mercs and Cypher PK, they actually won the very first tournament. This is the third one if you guys didn't know. They won week 1. They took out some really big teams. But in the second week, they actually went out in the very first 2 rounds, not winning a single game. They definitely did go up against some good players. They lost in the losers bracket to Courage and Teep, which we'll talk about later. So they will definitely be looking for revenge in this tournament. Looking at their stats, Nick Mercs and Cypher, both of them heavy fraggers, 6.4, 6.5 kills per match. One thing if you guys don't know about Nick, he actually plays on PS4. He is considered by basically everyone the only console player who can stand up to PC pros. He's insane. One thing though, he does make extremely aggressive plays, and that can bite you in the ass a lot in these tournaments. So if he and Cypher, who are both fraggers, go down early, they can be in some trouble, just like they did in the last tournament. Now moving on to the other team, we have TSM Daquan. You guys all know who he is. One of the best shotgunners in the game. Double pump, absolutely insane. He plays extremely aggressive too, so if it comes down to a frag match, he can definitely keep up with Nick and Cypher. Moving on to TWG Yanni. Most don't know who this guy is. He is also an aspiring pro, and he has played with TSM Daquan a lot in the past. His stats are pretty decent, and these guys match up pretty well. I'd say Daquan is probably the better player out of everybody here. Yanni the worst, and then Nick and Cypher in the middle. And probably who wins this one will go far in the tournament. I'm going to go with TSM Daquan and TWG Yanni, just because I think Daquan will be able to carry this one out. And I think Nick and Cypher might get a little too aggressive, just like last week. And then coming up next, guys, it is FaZe versus TSM. Huge matchup. Clearly the biggest of the first round. Whoever wins this could go on to win the entire tournament. Whoever loses this could go on to win the entire tournament because it's double elimination. FaZe and TSM are the 2 biggest teams right now in professional Fortnite. Everybody thinks these are the best players, and honestly, I think Cloak and tfue are probably the 2 best players on FaZe, and Myth and Hamlins are probably the 2 best players on TSM. So this is a huge matchup here. Taking a look at the stats, something I want to point out here, Hamlins, absolutely insane. 16.47 KD, 49.7 win percentage, 8.29 kills per match. This is the best stats we've seen so far. Better than Ninja, better than King Richard. He went huge in last week's tournament. He finished in 2nd place when he was teamed up with Daquan, barely losing to Typical Gamer and Thieves. It was an absolute epic match. Hamlins, again, he was just going off. And now Hamlins this week, instead of Daquan, is teamed up with Myth. And I think this is better overall because Myth is more of a methodical player. He likes to build and outmaneuver, outposition other players. And I think that pairs with Hamlin's aggressive style way more than just having 2 aggressive players. So I think now they'll be able to survive longer and get a ton of kills. And now moving on to FaZe tfue and FaZe Cloak. tfue considered one of the best players in the world. Recently there's been a lot of discussion whether or not he is better than Ninja, and it's definitely warranted. The guy is absolutely insane. Last week he dropped a 20 against Ninja, barely edging them out in a game 3. It was absolutely epic. If you guys didn't see that, search it up on YouTube. It was nuts. And honestly, this is the best matchup we can hope for. It's 2 pro teams. Literally, this is a pro matchup. No YouTubers, no crap. This is literally who is better at the game. And that's what is so exciting about this one. I'm going to go with TSM. I think they're going to take out FaZe. They went further in the tournament last week, and I think Myth and Hamlins is a better duo than Daquan and Hamlins. Moving on to the next matchup, we have Jelly and Svennos taking on Rodashaw and the Burnt Chip. This is going to be an absolute wipe. Just take a look at Svennos' stats, guys. He plays for NRG. He's a professional player. The guy's a god. This is now the best stats. 20 KD, 67% win rate with over 300 matches nearly. mind-blowing, absolutely insane stats there. Sven, he had an early exit in the tournament last week. It's going to be hard for Svenos though, because he's paired up with Jelly, who is a YouTuber. He makes gaming content. He's not the best player, as you can see from his stats. He's worse than Logan Paul, players like that, so not going to be very good. They will be able to win this matchup though, because they're going up against Rodashaw and the Burnt Chip. Not very good players. The Burnt Chip is okay. He plays on PS4. Rodashaw, not very good. Sven, he's going to be able to carry this matchup. Alright, moving on to the next game, we have some Faze boys, Banks, and Scissors. Now, Banks, couldn't find any stats on him. I looked up his account, but it's his PSN username, not his Epic Games account, so we can't find stats on him. I have seen some of Banks' videos though. He's decent at the game. It's hard to judge him. I've seen him win some games on YouTube, but obviously he's going to post his best games, so I'd say he's decent. A little under Faze Scissors, who has a 4.72 KD, 4.11 kills per match. That's pretty good. And then moving on to the next team, which is Mitch Jones. Not the best stats either. He's a streamer. He plays under tempo. I don't know if he's a pro player. I couldn't find anything saying if he was or not. But judging by his stats, I'd probably say he isn't. And then moving on to Ice Poseidon, who hasn't played a solo game this season. Only 2 matches in duos, 11 squads. I don't think Mitch and Ice Poseidon are going to be able to win this. Ice just probably going to hold him back. Might be the worst player in the entire tournament. Moving on to the next matchup, we have some guys from the Sidemen. Vicstar123, YouTuber. He creates IRL content with the Sidemen. Decent player, not the best stats. Moving on to Tinny. I think he's also part of the Sidemen guys, or at least he plays with Vic a lot because I've seen him in a ton of his YouTube videos. But overall, the guy has insane stats. 100 matches played, 61% win rate, 19 KD, 7.7 kills per match. That's really good. So the odds are Tinny is going to be able to carry this. Moving on to the next team, we have Muselk. He is a YouTuber. He creates a lot of content around Fortnite. One of the most popular ones right now. He's pretty decent at the game too compared to a lot of the other YouTubers. 4.43 KD, 4 kills per match, 10% win rate. Moving on to Latchy. He's also another YouTuber, not as good as Muselk. He's decent though, 2.6 KD, 2.5 kills per match. But I think Tinny is going to be able to carry this one. Also considering Vic is just as good as Lackey and almost Muselk, they're going to take this one. Moving on to the next matchup, we have Nick F30 and One Shot Girl taking on Ghost Ninja and Chica. Pretty interesting, the only 2 girls in the tournament, and they're going up against each other in the first round. Pretty cool, I'm glad to see some females playing, that's awesome. Now looking at the stats, Nick F30, he's a really good player. He's a YouTuber, not a pro player, but he is damn good. Honestly, I think Nick F30 is the best builder in the game. I've watched him play, I've watched Myth play, who's also considered the best builder in the game, and I'm telling you guys, go watch Nick F30. His building is just on a whole nother level. This guy gets you dizzy and confused when he gets in building fights. I wouldn't say his shot is up there with the pros, but he does get a lot of kills just because he outmaneuvers and outbuilds so many people. It's just insane. So moving on to his partner now, we have One Shot Girl. She's also pretty good at the game. 28% win rate, 6.52 KD, 4.65 kills per match. Really good stats there. One Shot Girl and Nick at 30, pretty good duo. Then moving on to Ghost Ninja, couldn't find any stats. Same situation as FaZe Banks. Nothing on him because his PSN is his in-game name and not his Epic account, so I don't know how to check his stats. He is a YouTuber. I watched some of his games. He didn't seem the best. Moving on to his partner, we have Chica, who's actually really good. I've watched some of her games as well. 26% win rate, 7.36 KD, 5 kills per match. Really good, but it's not going to be enough to go up against Nicat and One Shot Girl. They're going to take this one. Moving on to the next matchup, we have Fusi and Complexity Hogman taking on Comedy Shorts Gamer and Wizite. Now, Fusi, if you don't know him, you probably don't watch YouTube. Another big YouTuber just like Logan Paul. Does IRL content. Not the best player. His stats are pretty lacking even under Logan Paul. Then moving on to his partner, we have Hogman, who's actually the team captain of Complexity. Pretty good stats here. 20% win rate, 6.7 KD, 5.35 kills per match. Sitting around the average level of most of the pros on here. Moving on to their opponents, we have Comedy Shorts Gamer. Not very good. He's okay stats. A little bit better than Fusi. Moving on to Wizite. Okay, 15% win rate, but then he's lacking in KD and kills per match. I definitely think this will go in favor of Complexity, Hogman, and Fusi, just because they have the pro player advantage and their stats are a little bit better. Moving on to the next matchup, we have Dakotas and CDN III taking on Courage and Teep. Now, I told you earlier, Courage and Teep, they knocked out Nick Merckx and Cypher last week. And remember, Nick Merckx and Cypher won the week 1 tournament. So that was a huge knockout. They also went to, I think, top 12. So they're pretty good. Look at their stats, 22% win rate, 6.33 KD, 4.91 kills per match. Teep is also up there with 5 KD, 4.55 kills per match. Then we have Dakotas. Now Dakotas is a very famous streamer for TSM, also a really good player. Looking at his stats though, I mean, it's pretty comparable to Teep and Courage. He might be a little bit better than them, but it's pretty even. Then looking at his partner, we have CDN the Third. Now CDN the Third, he's a Fortnite streamer, and he's more of an entertainer. He's a comedy streamer. He doesn't really focus on being good. Now that could mean two things. He's got decent stats, but he could also not be trying that hard in these matches, or he could just be actually at this level. So it's hard to judge him. I'm just going to go off the stats though and say he's this good, and I think Courage and Teep have the advantage here, especially with their experience last week taking out Nick and Cypher. Moving on to the next matchup, we have Nick 28T and Nepenthez. Probably pronounced that one wrong, completely butchered it. But these two guys are both YouTubers for Fortnite and other games. Neither of them are really that good. I'd say Nick is a little bit better, but overall probably one of the weaker duos in the tournament. Then moving on to who they're facing, it's KYR Speedy and Sidearms. And now these two, they're also YouTubers. Now this is probably the weakest match of the first round. Every single player here isn't really that good. I guess Nick is the only one who's least average. The rest of them very low, so I don't expect much from this one. I'm going to give the advantage over to Nick's team, just solely based off because their stats are a little bit better. Now moving on to the very last matchup, this is another big one. Typical Gamer and Sore Thief, they were the winners of last week. Huge performance, took out FaZe, took out TSM, took out Noah and Avery. And Noah and Avery are actually really good as well. They got top 3 finishes from week 2 and week 1. Neither of them are pros, they both just make YouTube content for Fortnite, but they're really damn good, and they've been playing together for a long time. So these guys have a lot of duo synergy. That's probably one of the biggest reasons they're able to make these deep runs. But going up against Typical Gamer and Sore Thieves, these guys are animals. I mean, I know their stats aren't the best here, but last week, they dominated. They took out TSM, took out FaZe, they took out everybody, as I said. So I'm going to have to give the win over to them. Alright, so now back to the top of the bracket, we have Ninja and King Richard going up against Roman Atwood and FaZe Jailmock. Do I even need to talk about it, guys? Ninja and King Richard, they're going to win this game, 100%. Now that I've introduced everybody, we're probably going to start banging them out a lot quicker. Moving on to the next matchup, we have B-Chills, DJ Academics taking on Quebblecop and ID Young. B-Chills, he might be really good, but he's just not good enough to carry DJ Academics through this one. I think ID Young, he's going to have a good tournament. He's an aspiring pro, so he's looking to make a name for himself. I think he'll pop off here. Moving on to the next matchup, we have Ricegum and FaZe Space Leon taking on Summit 1G and Miniker. Now I mentioned this earlier, Ricegum, he might hold Space Leon back a little bit. He's not the best player, but I think Space Leon will be able to carry this one. Summit 1G, Miniker, they're a pretty good duo. I think they can make a good run in the lower bracket. I'm going to give this one over to Ricegum and Space Leon though. Moving on to the next matchup, we have a huge one. TSM versus TSM. Myth and Hamlin's going up against Daquan and Yanni. This will be a fun one to watch. We'll see how good Yanni really is in this series. But let's be honest, 2 beats 1, guys. We have 2 TSM going up against 1. Giving this one over to Myth and Hamlin's. Moving on to the next matchup, we have Jelly and Sven again, taking on the FaZe guys, Banks and Scissors. Again, no stats for Banks. Sven, insane stats, one of the best in the entire tournament. I think he's going to be able to carry Jelly through this one, and he'll move on to the next round. Moving on to the next one, we have Vic and Tinny taking on Nick at 30 and One Shot Girl. As I mentioned earlier, I'm really high on Nick at 30. I think he's going to make a run in this tournament. Best builder in the game, hands down. One Shot Girl also has some pretty damn good stats, so I think they make a good team here. Tinny might have an absolutely insane KD, but I'm not too sure he's going to be able to carry Vic through this one. I think Nick will take this one. This definitely is a tough one though and can go either way. Moving on to the next one, it's Fusi and Complexity Hogman taking on Courage and Teep. I mentioned Courage and Teep earlier. They had a good run last week. They took out week 1 winners. I think they'll be able to win this one. Hogman, he's pretty decent. He might be a little bit better than Courage and Teep, but overall not really by much, and Fusi is going to hold him back here. Courage and Teep take this. And now moving on to the last matchup of the second round, we have Nick 28T, Nepenthez taking on Sore Thieves, Typical Gamer. Don't need to talk about this one. Returning champs, they're going to take this one easily. Probably going to be one of the biggest stomps of the tournament here. So there we have it, guys. 2 rounds done. Now moving on to the third round, we have Ninja and King Richard taking on Quebblecop and ID Young. Looking at the stats, they don't stand a chance, guys. This is an easy prediction. Ninja, King Richard, they're looking for vengeance. They made a long run last week, weren't able to win. They're going for that dub. Moving on to the next matchup, we have ricegum and faze Space Leon taking on the TSM boys. Space Leon can only carry ricegum so far. He's not going to be able to challenge TSM here. They're going to take this one. Moving on to the next matchup, we have Jelly and Sven taking on Nick and One Shot Girl. Sven, it's the same thing with Space Leon. You're not going to be able to carry Jelly around for so long. Going up against two players that are pretty decent overall, I think they're going to be able to beat out Sven 1v2. So I'm going to give it over to Nick and One Shot Girl. And now moving on to the last matchup of this round, we have Courage and Teep taking on Sore Thieves and Typical Gamer. This is going to be a huge one. Courage and Teep last week, they took out the week 1 winners. Can they do it again in week 3, taking out last week's winners, Sore Thieves and Typical Gamer? Could go either way, but I'm going to have to give it over to Sore Thieves and Typical Gamer. The way they played last week was just insane, and I think the competition in week 1 was way worse than week 2, so Sore Thieves and Typical Gamer are going to take this one. So now we're in the upper bracket semifinals. We have Ninja and King Richard taking on Myth and Hamlins. Then Nick at 30 and One Shot Girl taking on Typical Gamer and Sore Thief. Looking up the first matchup, we have an epic one, boys. This could be the finals here. Whoever wins this could very well win it. It's going to be epic. It's so hard to predict this. I do think, though, TSM is going to be able to take this. They're a team. This is what they do. They live in a house together. These guys are practicing so hard to be the best in the world, and I just don't see them losing. If they do, I wouldn't say it's a disgrace, because Ninja and King Richard are absolutely insane. But the TSM guys right now, they have everything they need to succeed in the game. They're in a team house. They're practicing. They're scrimming. They should be the best right now. So we're going to go ahead and move on Myth and Hamlins over to the finals. Then in the second round, a surprise, we have Nick at 30 and One Shot Girl making it pretty far in the upper bracket, but they're going to run into a brick wall here. Typical Gamer, Sore Thieves, they're looking for the 2-peat. They're going to take this one, moving them on to the finals against the TSM boys, which I know it's a little off on the side and you guys can't really see it right now. So there we have it, guys. The upper bracket is complete. Now we're going to go ahead and move on to the lower bracket, which we're going to go by a lot quicker now. I've introduced all the players to you guys. I've shown the stats. Now I'm just going to show my completed lower bracket. And here it is, guys. So going through it, we don't have to mention all of them, but we will have some notable matches coming up. In this first round, we have Nick Mercs and Cypher PK going up against faze tfue and faze Cloaksy. This is going to be a huge matchup. Nick and Cypher, they won week 1. They're looking for vengeance here. Could they actually get bounced 2 times in a row? And I basically have them in a situation where they can lose in the first round 2 weeks in a row after winning the very first week, which I think will happen. faze tfue and faze Cloaksy are going to move on. In the second round, nothing really too notable. We have the faze boys going up against each other. Should be an interesting one. Obviously, tfue and Cloaksy will win that one. Then down here, we have Noah and Avery taking on Roman Atwood and faze Jomac. And then down here, we have Roman Atwood and faze Jailmock taking on Noah J and Avery. This could be a close one. I'm going to go ahead and give it over to Noah and Avery, just because they've had some deep runs in week 1 and week 2. Then moving on to the losers third round, something to point out, Dr. Lupo and Tim the Tapman, they made a decent run here, but I think this is going to be the end of them. Nadeshot and Big Time are going to move on, the Optic boys. This should probably be a good one down here too. Daquan and Yanni taking on Summit 1G and Miniker. I think Summit 1G and Miniker are probably one of the better teams here, but they're going up against some good players here. They're going to lose out. Then moving down here, we have Dakotas from TSM. I think they'll probably lose to Noah J and Avery. Once again, those guys have good experience. They have deep runs. They're going to win that one. Moving on to the next round, the highlight of this one is probably going to be Courage and Teep going up against Daquan and Yanni. I do think Daquan and Yanni will be able to pick this one up. Yanni's hungry to prove himself. Daquan's great. They'll take that. Moving on to Jelly and Sven, taking on Noah and Avery. Sven can only carry Jelly so far. He's going to lose this round. Noah and Avery looking for another deep run. Then we have Nadeshot and Big Timer, the Optic boys, taking on tfue and Cloaksy, the faze boys. Good old rivalry here. It's not going to be too close, though. Faze is going to move on easily. And then down here, we have Daquan and Yanni taking on Noah and Avery. And again, I think Daquan and Yanni are going to be able to take this one. They're going to have a good tournament. It's going to be very close. Could go either way. Moving on to the next round, we have Ninja and King Richard, where they dropped off, taking on Daquan and Yanni. This is going to be the end of Daquan and Yanni. It's a good run, but Ninja and King Richard, too good. Up here, we have Nick at 30 and One Shot Girl. They also had a decent run, but they're not going to be able to beat the faze boys. These two are looking for vengeance. They want to win. Then moving on to this one, boys. faze tfue, faze Cloaksy taking on Ninja and King Richard. This is going to be epic, guys. Last week, they had the most amazing matchup. Ninja picked up 23 kills against them, clutching out that second map solo against the faze guys, forcing a map 3 And then in map 3, tfue did it right back to Ninja, dropping 20 kills, taking the victory. Oh man, look that up on YouTube, guys. Faze versus Ninja and King Richard, $10,000 tournament. Absolutely insane. The best match from that week, 100%. I think FaZe will be able to take this though. They have the synergy. They're practicing in scrims. They're being paid to play the game as professionals. They will move on 2 times in a row, taking out Ninja and King Richard. And then in the final of the lower bracket, we have the FaZe boys taking on Typical Gamer and Sore Thief, the winners of last week. FaZe looking for vengeance here, and they're gonna find it 100%. And I do have Typical Gamer and Sore Thief losing to TSM in that upper final, knocking them down to the loser final where they're taking on the FaZe boys. And FaZe, they're looking for vengeance. They want revenge, and they're gonna get it. Moving on to the overall finals against TSM. This is it right here, boys. The finals, the start of an epic rivalry in Fortnite. I think this is going to go down in history. FaZe and TSM right now, they are the 2 blockbuster organizations in the game. They have the best players, and this is pretty much it. Bragging rights is on the line. Also, $20,000. And I'm going to have to go with TSM. They've been together for a long time. They have the gaming house. They're together in real life. They've been practicing hard. So I think this is their win to take. It could go either way though, guys. I wouldn't be surprised if FaZe takes it. I'm expecting some huge games. 20 bombs from any of these players. We have Hamlins, we have Myth, we have Cloaksy, we have tfue. Oh, God, it's amazing. I'm super hyped. And honestly, I can't wait, guys. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to drop a like on it. Subscribe to my channel. I'm going to be doing content like this. Also, this was a really hard video for me to put together. I've been working on it for like 14 hours. So show some love, guys. Share the video if you really enjoyed it. And I'm also going to be covering the tournament, so you guys can expect highlights on my channel. You can expect analysis, pretty much anything that has to do with this tournament. This is your spot, guys. I'm out of here. Peace.